Welcome back to the Dr. Cliff Show. In today's episode, we're telling you everything you need to know about Starkey hearing aids. Coming up. Welcome back to another hopefully live episode of the Dr. Cliff Show. I'm Dr. Cliff Olson, audiologist and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am here with my co-host.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rachael Cook. I am also a doctor of audiology at Applied Hearing Solutions. Thank you for joining us today. Like we said, hopefully live. We've been dealing with a couple of internet issues, but fingers crossed. So today we're going to be reviewing all things Starkey hearing aids. So top to bottom, a little bit of background, a little bit of history on them. Then we're going to jump into all of their styles of devices. They actually recently had a product launch, so this was perfect timing because we're going to be reviewing all of the new products within that product launch. We'll be talking about their receiver and canal style devices, their behind the ear devices, their custom in-ear devices, as well as a couple of other product offerings that they have. Then we'll be talking about the features available within the devices and within the apps that they have, as well as the connectivity and accessories. So as always, make sure you like and subscribe if you have not yet already, and be sure to ask your questions early and often so that we can answer them at the end of the show.
And hopefully we're getting some good signal. Kelsey, do you see anyone leaving comments yet on the live stream? And not yet. Okay, so if someone could please go on the live stream and leave a comment, I'd appreciate it so we can test it out, see if it's working. And if it's not coming through, well, then this might just be a recorded session for you guys today. But as unfortunate as that is, fortunately, you actually can find a good hearing care professional in your local area. So we're talking about Starkey hearing aids today, but the most important thing to understand about any hearing aid that's out there is that it is only as good as the person who programs it and works with you with those devices. And that's why I started the Hearing Up Provider Network. This is a network of hearing care professionals across the United States and even in Canada, and we're hopefully spreading to South Africa as well as Australia here soon. But these are providers who are committed to following best practices so you can get the most out of your hearing aids. So if you're struggling with your hearing aids or you're considering getting new hearing aids, make sure you go to hearingup.com and look for a local provider near you.
All right, we're jumping straight into the history of this company, and I don't know, I just think that Starkey's kind of history and story is a pretty cool one. Maybe I'm biased because it's the only US-based hearing aid manufacturer, but it just feels homey, you know?
Yeah, it definitely is, and they're the only privately owned one, which we'll get into here in a little bit. And there's something nice about privately owned companies. You know that they're run by a family, typically, when they're privately owned at this point, and not owned by a bunch of what do you call it, venture capital companies, right? And investors.
Exactly. Well, the history, it starts out a little bit later than other companies that we've talked about on this show. In 1967, William Austin is the one who founded the Professional Hearing Aid Services. And so as a company, this actually started out as a repair company. This was not a company that was manufacturing and distributing hearing aids at the time.
Yeah, for sure. And, they had to actually partner with another company before they actually started selling and dispensing hearing aids. So in 1971, that's when the purchase of Starkey Laboratories happened. Really, they had a merger there, and they retained the Starkey name. And that's kind of fun because that right there is the original building that they started in. And trust me, we'll show you where they're at now. A little bit of an upgrade from that building.
Just a little bit. Now, then they decided to really get in the game with producing hearing aids, and in 1973, they came out with their CE1 ITE hearing aid, which was an in-the-ear style hearing aid, and they came out with a couple of industry firsts with this, which was number one, a 90-day return window, as well as a 1-year warranty on the devices, and at the time, that really wasn't standard with hearing aid purchases.
Yeah, and it's very common now to have like a trial period or a fitting window to where if you're not successful with hearing aids, you can return those for a refund.
Right.
And then, of course, things do happen with hearing aids, which is why it's so important to have a hearing care professional to work with who can do repairs on your devices. But most hearing aids will come with a 3-year warranty on them now, between 1 and 3. I guess it depends on the tech level that you get. But that was something that was a revolutionary at the time.
For sure.
And then in 1983, this is probably my favorite thing, Ronald Reagan was actually fit with a pair of intra-hearing aids, and this dramatically increased hearing aid adoption rates in the time to go up to to something like 2.5%,
Yeah.
which is crazy
Yeah.
to me. But it just shows you how far things have come when hearing aid adoption rates as of 2022, at least in the United States, was around 38%. And you do not get much higher than that in other countries that provide hearing aids to their citizens for 100% free.
Right.
It's in the low 40s for a lot of those countries.
Right. And I can't remember which one's off the top of my head exactly right now, but there are several other U.S. presidents that also went on to be fit with Starkey hearing aids.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's just kind of cool.
You know, once you get one president, they all just kind of fall in line.
They all
there.
start lining up. Well, in 1993, they came out with their first CIC, or completely in canal hearing aid, which was the Tympanet. And that led really nicely into their 2010 release of the Sound Lens, which was the very first invisible in the canal hearing aid. And these things are tiny, microscopic. I don't even know how they end up putting all of the chips and the processing and the battery and everything into these. I still see patients come in with them every once in a while, and every time I hold them, I'm like, this is no larger than an M&M.
Yeah, and you know they've actually increased the size of their IICs over time to put more technology in them. I remember when I was in grad school, we did dispense these Sound Lens devices. I don't know what their repair rates were on those, but they happened to fail a lot because they lived inside of a harsh environment, like super deep inside of the ear canal. So there was always earwax issues with those devices.
Yeah.
But then in 2012, Starkey Laboratories changed to Starkey Hearing Technologies. So it was basically a name change, not a whole lot else changed to my knowledge at that time. And in 2014 is really when they came out with their first made for iPhone hearing aid called the Starkey Halo. Really fat hearing aid. And I'm not talking pH fat. I'm talking it was fat.
Yeah,
it was a very wide,
one.
thick hearing aid, uses a size 13 battery. And if you did not have enough room behind your ears, you could not use that device. But that really was a nice catapult. Them with another couple of other companies. We've talked about ReSound already on this show. They came out in 2014 with a made for iPhone device as well. And they've continued to build on that technology up until now.
Yes. Then they moved through a couple of lines from the Halo line into the Livio AI line, which was really cool, adding that artificial intelligence, which we now are seeing pop up in nearly every other hearing aid manufacturer at the moment. But this was also cool because it had the first motion sensor in hearing aids with fall detection. And we're going to be talking about that coming up here in the features section. But this hearing aid does have the ability to detect if there has been a rapid change in your positioning, which is great because if you are older and wear hearing aids, it'll send a call to your family members. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, and I was at the gym the other day and my wife messages me and she says, "What the heck did I get a fall detection alert for?"
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry. I'm just reviewing the new Starkey Genesis hearing aids."
Just
so,
throwing myself
just
on the
throwing
floor.
myself all
Don't
over the
mind
place,
me.
right? You know, you get into the burpees, you know, and then all of a sudden it starts giving you fall detection alerts on that thing. But that's okay. I
Definitely.
told her everything's cool. No need to come get me and take me to the hospital. So as promised, though, the new headquarters is based in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and we do have a graphic of that. So if you ever purchase a Starkey hearing aid, it's coming from that facility right there. If it ever needs to go in for a repair, it's going back to that facility right there. And they actually have a couple of nice videos on YouTube. One was, I think, a CNBC video where they were talking about over-the-counter hearing aids, and they actually gave you kind of like a tour of Starkey Labs and all the things that they do there, so I would check that out. I also made a reaction video of that, surprise, surprise, on the YouTube channel as well. And like you were saying, they are the only US-based hearing aid manufacturer. A lot of them have different headquarters here, United States headquarters, but they're the only company that is headquartered and owned here in the United States.
Right, right. So that makes it special. Now let's take a look at the market share data globally where Starkey stacks up. So we've seen this every other week up until this point. As you can see, Starkey is in essentially fourth place on there with 16% of the market share.
Yep, neck and neck with GN ReSound at this point. And,
Pretty tied up.
Starkey has a very loyal following of dispensers and audiologists throughout the country who, dispense a lot of their products. So it's no surprise that they're actually holding firm right there and potentially even growing in market share, especially when they keep launching newer and newer devices for sure.
Right. Now let's take a look at the industry map because Starkey is, a parent company there, but they also have other retail kind of options as well. So when we look up there, we see other familiar names. We see Audibel up there. We see New Sound Hearing Centers. Those are definitely pretty well known. New ear centers as well.
The thing that stands out for me is that there's not as many on their list as there is on the other manufacturer's list.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I think maybe some of that does have to do with the fact that it's not, I mean, I don't want to call it not as international of a company as others, but I just think with the other companies being based in Europe, things just start spreading faster. I don't know. I could be wrong on
possibly. And you saw Start Hearing on there. We're going to be talking about their over-the-counter hearing aid. You have a little bit of beef with Audible.
Oh man. Well, you know what? I just don't like locked hearing aids. And what I mean by this is locked hearing aids can only be programmed by specific providers that work at specific locations. And this is generally going to be more like big box retailers or retail franchise locations. And unfortunately, Audible hearing aids fall under that category, which means that if you move to a city that doesn't have an Audible provider, or if you're traveling around and there's not a provider there, unfortunately, your hearing aid programming and settings cannot be manipulated by anybody else.
Even if they're a Starkey dealer.
Even if they're a Starkey dealer. And so sometimes patients come in knowing that they have locked hearing aids, but more often than not, it's obvious that there was a bit of a miscommunication there, that they did not realize that these devices would not be able to be operated on by anybody but one of those providers.
Now, I think I've seen some Audible devices that have been unlocked, but I think that has to be done by the clinic location, or they have to request an unlocked version of the device from Starkey. I'm not really sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But generally speaking, and it's not just Audible, there's a lot of different brands of hearing aids out there that are locked, so just be careful. You should always be asking if the hearing aids that you're purchasing are locked devices, and that if you're concerned about moving to different places, you should be asking that.
Most definitely.
What I will say is that I've actually had some really good interviews with the CEO, Brandon Sawalich. I've also had an interview with Achin Bomik, who is basically their chief technology officer. He came over from Intel. And I like these individuals as people, you know? So there are certain things that I don't necessarily love about the devices that they have. But as far as a company, I like the people in charge of it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always good. It gives you just like more faith and more trust in their company, for sure. Well, I say let's just jump straight on in. They have a new technology release. I'm chomping at the bit to be able to start talking about this. So we're going to be jumping into their receiver and canal style hearing aids. Now, they have, several platforms of hearing aids, as do every other manufacturer, but they went from the Halo line into the Livio line, into the Livio Edge AI line, into the Evolve AI line, and their newest release, which would be the Genesis AI line. And in fact, you can't even purchase them yet, but they will become available for purchase on March 28th. So it's not their entire lineup or portfolio of products, and this is pretty standard across the industry to release their new product line with just a few makes and models, and then as time goes on, they start slowly adding the rest of the lineup to that group. But you can see we have a couple custom CIC options, a couple of rechargeable in-the-ear options, as well as their new Micro RIC R and their RIC RT.
Yep, and I like that they came out with customs at the same time as the RICs. I feel like a lot of people who like custom products, they kind of like, oh, you can wait a year before you get the new tech. And it's just like, it drives me crazy if I'm being honest. So now they do come in different tech levels. There are, I believe, 4 tech levels now. There used to be 5 in the past, and they've changed the naming of the nomenclature with these. So you have the 24s are the highest, you have the 20s, then you have the 16s, and then you have the 12s. It used to be 2400, 2000, 1600, and 1200. So don't be alarmed when you start looking at the nomenclature for your new Genesis AI hearing aids and see that their numbers are much smaller now.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that they're less technology, right?
I was going to say, they went from 2400 to 20. That's quite a jump there. No, they just ended up taking off those 2 zeros at the end because I don't think that they were really serving a purpose, I guess.
That is right. Now, I actually have a pair of these, so not to, brag or anything, but I tend to get advanced devices from these manufacturers. So I actually have a pair of the Genesis AI hearing aids that I've been playing with for the last week. I have to say these, in my opinion, are the best devices that Starkey has put out to this point. We're getting you a nice shot there on the camera. These guys right here are the ones that do have the telecoil inside of them. See if we can focus on that. That's perfect. So you get the double push button there, and then we have the domes, which we'll talk about here in a minute as well. But they actually changed the receivers entirely, so the old receivers will not work with these. Trust me, I can get it. There we go. So the new receivers on here are like a 6-pin receiver, I believe 6 or 8 pin. I can't remember. It's an 8-pin.
With future compatibility.
Yeah, with future compatibility in the future. So that's actually really kind of cool. Make sure that you get them snapped in all the way. That's an issue I had. I'm like, these hearing aids are dead. I didn't have it snapped in all the way.
Yep, happens
Rookie
to the best
mistake.
of us.
Rookie mistake.
Well, what's really cool about this line as well, something that we had only previously seen in the Oticon line, which was the deep neural network. Starkey has added it within their new Starkey Neuro processor, the addition of a deep neural network. And I do think that we're going to start seeing other companies get a hold of this technology as well. And I was happy to see it added to the lineup this time.
Yeah, we saw this a couple of years ago with Oticon, who released the first deep neural network to process sound. And so I told you guys 2 years ago that other manufacturers are going to start developing their own deep neural network and processing sound through this brain-like structure, but it takes the need of a human being to create algorithms to process the sound. They can create a deep neural network, feed sound through it, do deep learning, and then actually process sound better on the other end.
Definitely. And the thing about this AI stuff and deep neural network stuff is that it's only going to keep growing on itself super, super quickly. Like the rate of technology development is not the same right now, because as this AI and as these deep neural networks start getting stronger and stronger and better at what they're doing, who knows? They're going to take over the world.
No,
probably.
Literally, the robots are going to kill us. Let's be clear on that. Okay, they're coming for us, and this is just like this is the beginning of it. I mean, watch the movie Terminator. This is what's going to happen to us. Yeah, the deep neural networks are going to get smarter than us. They're going to become self-aware, and then Skynet's taking us out.
Well, bummer. In the meantime, you'll have really good hearing aid processing.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, what's really, really impressive about these is going to be the battery life, hands down. So their micro RIC, which does not have the addition of a telecoil, that micro RIC has a battery life of 41 hours.
That's right.
I don't think we've seen that out of a RIC yet.
We have not
Especially not out of a micro RIC.
Yeah, micro RIC is the key term here. So it's their smaller behind-the-ear receiver and canal device. 41 hours, maybe a little overkill, but if you do a lot of streaming, maybe it makes sense to have a battery that has that much capacity inside of it. I always wonder, like, what are they sacrificing for other features that they could include inside of a hearing aid instead of making the battery? Obviously, the battery could get smaller, because you look at other manufacturers, they're trying to shoot for around 20 to 24 hours, and most people don't have issue, even the people who stream a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think that potentially with the addition of this more advanced processing technology too, that they are going to potentially need that greater battery life for some of the processing.
That's true as well. That's fair to say.
So we'll see. Their RIC RT, like the one that you held up, that actually boasts 51 hours of battery life, and I would say most impressive out of all of them is that they have added the cross to this lineup, and the rechargeable cross can do 29 hours.
And that's really good, because a lot of the rechargeable crosses out there, it's like you're lucky to get all day out of a rechargeable cross, which is why I often recommend non-rechargeable cross devices. But with Starkey, and they've come a long way with their cross technology. It's better now than what it was when it was first released. I want to say back in 2015, 2016. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but they've improved it dramatically over the course of time. But 51 hours is perfect with the RIC RT for, like, if you're going to do a whole weekend, like, binge of partying, or you want to watch a Netflix series,
hook up to your iPad or
from
something
beginning to end,
just keep going and going.
That's right. So maybe it does make sense to have a battery life that long.
I don't think that at the moment there's necessarily a downside to it. I mean, obviously the devices are a little bit larger than I was expecting, and maybe that micro RIC is a bit smaller. I haven't actually been able to get my hands on it yet, but other than that, I don't think that anyone's going to complain at having that long of a battery life.
For sure. Now, something that did not change are the domes. So they still use their comfort domes that came out several years ago. I'm a big fan of these domes. I can wear them comfortably inside of my ears. They have a variety of different sizes and styles that we can put up a graphic for here. You have, open domes, you have closed domes, vented domes, large domes, small domes. Like, you've got it all there. So
technically, I didn't even realize that this doesn't have all of the power domes on there as well. So there's an entire other line of power domes.
But that's good. We don't need freaking power domes.
No,
okay?
generally
Use
not.
the custom ear molds. Starkey, are we talking about how good the Starkey ear molds are later in the show?
You can talk about how good they are.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to use a power receiver on your hearing aid, don't be silly. Don't waste your money. Go with a custom ear mold, and Starkey has some of the better, AP, absolute power ear molds that are out there that you embed a receiver into. So don't go with a power dome. Actually go with a power receiver embedded inside of one of their custom molds.
Sure. Well, I think we have another sponsor segment from you before we get into the behind the ears and other ear molds.
That's right. Now, Starkey's a great brand if you need prescription hearing aids, but you might be able to use over-the-counter hearing aids if you just have a mild to moderate hearing loss. An over-the-counter hearing aid might be the route to go for you initially, like the Sontro receiver and canal hearing aid from Soundwave Hearing. One thing I really like about Soundwave is the built-in hearing check using their Auto-Tune smartphone app. By being able to test your hearing in the app, it allows you to better customize the initial program settings based on your hearing loss. It will also warn you if it detects something like an asymmetry between your two ears and recommend that you see a hearing care professional due to a possible medical condition. But that is not all that the app can do. You can also adjust between different programs and volume levels, adjust a 3-band equalizer, and enable noise reduction and feedback cancellation. If you end up getting over-the-counter hearing aids and they do not have an app like this that allows you to control their settings, I would strongly recommend that you consider the Soundwave Sontro hearing aid instead. Now, you can learn more about the Sontro devices and their Auto-Tune app at hearsoundwave.com, or you can check it out at my website, hearingup.com.
All right, we're jumping straight into the behind-the-ear devices. Now, kind of like what you were saying, if you are in need of a power receiver, Starkey actually can do a great job with receiver and canal instruments and can nearly fit any hearing loss without having to naturally progress into that behind-the-ear style like you had to do in the past. However, if you have outer ear canal conditions or any contraindication for using a sort of receiver and canal device, then they also have behind-the-ear devices that can help you through that. Now, they have not upgraded this platform to the Genesis AI platform yet, so we're still on Evolve AI. But also, I don't know if this is just my own personal opinion, but do you feel like they've put out product platforms or technology platforms a little bit quicker than other companies? Because I feel like I barely just got situated with Evolve, and then we're on Genesis now, and I'm like, wait, I remember Livio AI, I remember Livio Edge AI, I'm like, this is a lot of technology platforms.
Yeah, I mean, they get bored quickly.
They
just want new stuff. They have enough engineers over there that they're probably creating like the next product line, next 2 product lines right now.
Yeah, they have 400.
Right?
They do. They have 400 engineers.
The 400 engineers.
I was reading that today.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's like, is that too many engineers?
I feel like that's a lot of engineers.
Nah, you can never have too many engineers. I mean, now here's the thing. Maybe you can have too many engineers in one room. But
yes.
It's just the ability for us to communicate effectively with an engineer, because their minds are going all over the place. And somehow Starkey has figured out to take all of those collective minds and create products on a product cycle that would put a lot of other manufacturers to shame.
Yeah, we love it. So they have a rechargeable behind-the-ear style. They have a behind-the-ear that takes a size 13 battery, and they also have their behind-the-ear Power Plus, and that one can get a little bit higher powered. That one also still takes the 13 battery, though, so we don't actually see any of these products taking a 675.
Yeah, but all of these require the use of an ear mold, and I know that a lot of people are a little bit more into colors and stuff than I am. I'm just not a color guy.
I know.
But if you want to share what they got, go ahead.
Let's take a look at these ear molds because I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, can we just take a moment for these glitter silicone ear molds? They all look so fun. They all look like, I don't know, colored champagne almost. Like, look at that blueberry slush. How
I can't
cool.
look at this swirl on there. Red, white, and blue. Now you're speaking my language.
I know. Not to mention, anecdotally, I just need to throw this in because we didn't talk about putting this in the rundown, but I'm going to do it anyway. Starkey actually reached out to one of my favorite TikTokers. His name is Patriotic Kenny, and he is a veteran, and he has a significant hearing loss. And so they sent him out to Starkey Hearing Technologies headquarters and fit him with hearing aids, fit him with ear molds, and it was the cutest TikTok ever, and it was like 2 of my favorite worlds colliding at the same time.
That is hilarious.
It was great.
I think that's enjoyable.
I hope he got the red, white, and blue ear molds, but I don't remember, so I'm going to have to go back and look.
That's hilarious. America.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
So let's continue talking about the customs lineup. So we do have a lineup of custom devices from Starkey. One thing that I've loved about Starkey manufacturers that you can send them digital impressions or you can send them physical impressions to get custom ear molds made. And really, Starkey, if you ask a lot of professionals in the industry, a lot of them will tell you that Starkey is one of the best ear mold labs that are out there. Now, every ear mold lab has some devices that come back and like, is this right? Did they send me the right ear mold? Like, I know it happens, right? But generally speaking, Starkey is really well known for that. Now, you have the invisible, so those would be similar to what the sound lens were when they first came out. Invisible in the canal devices.
Right.
You have the in the canal devices. I know you probably can't tell it yet, and we're going to talk about it here in a second, but we do have a wireless CIC there that has an antenna that sticks out of your ear, and they've actually curled it a little bit better nowadays to get some Bluetooth connectivity with those devices. And then you have the half shell that fills up half of your ear, and the full shell that fills up all of your ear, and those last two on the bottom there are rechargeable.
Correct. Yep. Sure enough. So, let's talk about this wireless CIC for a second, because generally, when you have a CIC product, you are not able to connect via Bluetooth because, unfortunately, the devices are inside of your head, and the Bluetooth range is not able to permeate your bone and your skin to maintain that Bluetooth connection. So what they ended up doing, correct me if I'm wrong, is this like a Kevlar braid or something? It's something that can't be cut or ripped or anything.
Can't. I wouldn't use the word can't. I bet you I could cut through that sucker. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah. It's more durable and robust than a regular removable string that you would pull on a hearing aid to get it out of your ear.
And that's good because sometimes they're not always most durable. Performance-wise, what have you seen with this?
It's been hit or miss, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know if I want to get into this now, but hey, what the hey, right? I'm not a super huge fan of the Bluetooth connectivity of Starkey devices. I've said it before in my review videos in the past. When I was doing my review of the new Genesis AI hearing aids, I'm just like, I feel like it's the same exact issues, right? The sound quality from a streaming is not super great. I don't even have the ability anymore to go into a specific Stream Boost program to manipulate the audio of streaming, which has been bumming me out a little bit with that. I have been able to augment different programs that I can switch into when I start streaming to kind of help with that. But, just the stability of the connection, I've not been a huge fan of. And they've touted that they've increased the range by 40% of being able to use these products. And I'm just like, it's sitting next to me right here in the gym. I have my phone propped up so the signal can leave my phone effectively. And here I am with signal cutting in and out like crazy. I'm just not a fan of the Bluetooth.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about different features that are within the app on the devices. And as far as the features go, I mean, this company's got more features than anybody. But if your hearing aids won't stay connected to your app for you to be able to control and manipulate these features, then what good are they at that point? So I think, we talked earlier about what are we sacrificing for getting better battery life. It's exciting that there's better battery life, and it's mostly exciting in the fact that you can stream longer with a longer battery life. But if the streaming is poor, then what's it matter?
Yeah, and I keep thinking like maybe I just keep getting dud hearing aids from them, but I keep having the same issue over and over. And like I said, I've voiced it in previous reviews, and so I'm sure that they're fully aware that Dr. Cliff is not a huge fan of the Bluetooth connectivity. The Asha protocol, brutal in my opinion. Made for iPhone, better than the Asha. So if you're going to be getting the Genesis AI devices, I would strongly recommend that if streaming is important to you, that you at least get an iPhone. I happen to be more of an Android user, but I do test it on both. iPhone is definitely better than Android.
Yeah, anytime that you have a made for iPhone hearing aid, I think personally and anecdotally with what I've seen in the clinic, you need to be operating with an iPhone for those products. Otherwise, you're just going to run into some glitchy stuff. And that's true of all the manufacturers, not just Starkey. But in addition to hearing aids, they also have a couple of other products that they have going for them as well. And we've talked several times about how good of an ear mold manufacturer that they are. And given the fact that they started out as a repair company and then an ear mold company, they should be pretty dang good at ear molds. But they have their Sound Gear shooting protection, and we have a graphic of this as well. They have several different types of custom hearing protection. They actually happen to have swim molds, fully occluded silicone hunting plugs. These are actually their rechargeable rechargeable and digital hearing protection, which is really nice. So you can use these not only as hearing protection, but also as hearing amplifiers, so that even though you have something blocking your ears while you're out there, when there's a loud, strong impulse noise, it will apply hearing protection. And when you are not doing those loud impulse noises, you can still hold a conversation with the person you're with.
Yeah, those ones that we just had on the screen, we should pull them back up. Those are the Soundgear Phantom, and if you look at the little gold markings on the outside of his ear right there, those are the charging contacts, which are very similar to the charging contacts that they have inside of their custom line of hearing aids. But yeah, Starkey Soundgear Phantom devices, you should check those out for sure. But they also have another device that we just got done reviewing in the clinic today, because I had my trusty assistant Bree in the office who has a mild to moderate hearing loss. And you know what people with mild to moderate hearing losses can wear?
Over-the-counter hearing
Over-the-counter hearing aids. So Starkey did come out with... Now, Starkey was very vocal when all of the over-the-counter hearing aid guidelines initially were being put out. They had a lot of comments about them. A lot of them were concerned about, safety of these products for consumers, but Starkey's on board. They've got an over-the-counter hearing aid product, and they came out with it pretty quickly. And I will hold it up to the camera here. This one here is the Start Hearing One device. Now, those of you who've seen a lot of my review videos so far, I don't know if I can get that. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So I don't know if you can see the angling of that receiver wire, that red tip there that's pointing almost straight up. You know what these remind me of?
What?
The Bose sound control hearing aids, and they were actually, now they're the Lexi hearing aids, the Lexi B1s, really, because these are disposable battery option. But these receiver wires are almost identical, and the body of the hearing aid is almost identical to the Bose devices. So I don't know who's making these, if they're making them at Starkey, if they're sourcing their products elsewhere.
Yeah,
right?
When I called and spoke with Starkey today, she made it clear that these products were being manufactured by an outside company. They're just being distributed via Starkey. And she also made the comment that, because I said, okay, wait, these are over-the-counter hearing aids, but they can only be purchased through hearing healthcare provider offices. And she goes, yes, they're over-the-counter. It's just over-the-counter at your hearing healthcare clinic.
We have a counter at our clinic.
She said they're meant to be,
and we can slide them over the counter to a patient. I think they retail for around $7.99 or so.
It's $8.99 for the pair. However, it is going to depend on the clinic's discretion on how they end up actually pricing that.
Okay. Well, they might. I mean, I don't know. The clinics can't require that you go through testing to get these.
Correct.
They can't require that you go through programming to get these. That is explicitly stated in the over-the-counter hearing aid guidelines.
Yes.
But different clinics can provide different levels of support. They might have a service plan that you can purchase with them so they can optimize them. I'll tell you this right now. Kelsey, tell me if I'm wrong, but we were able to program these better on Bree when I was doing real ear verification on them and customizing the audio, right? And it was substantially better. And so, decent product. I have not completed my review, which is why you probably know more about this product than I do at this point. But I know what the real ear capabilities are of these devices, and honestly, it's not bad for a device that would cost $8.99.
Cool. Well, we like to hear it.
Cool. Oh, you had $8.99 written in here, and I totally missed it.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you we were going to get a little bit more like, let's just, just start rambling.
Fine by me.
That's what people want.
I didn't know until I called them this morning. I knew it was under 1,000 or around 1,000.
Yeah.
So I thought about typing in around 1,000. And then I was like, I'll get the actual figure.
There you
so
go. There
$8.99 for the pair. Which,
well, now,
not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Now, those are over-the-counter hearing aids from Starkey, who's a prescription hearing aid company. But another prescription hearing aid company, I know we're talking about Starkey today, but if you missed our first episode in this particular series where we're talking about all the hearing aid manufacturers, you need to go back about a month and watch our ReSound episode, because they have a product lineup and they have a new product platform called Omnia. ReSound's big focus on the ReSound Omnia hearing aids was speech understanding and background noise. In fact, they were able to achieve a 4.5 decibel signal-to-noise ratio improvement compared to their previous generation technology when using their front focus feature. Now, one thing that has not changed is the ReSound Smart 3D app, which is still, by far, the highest rated app in the App Store, and this app allows you to change programs, volume levels, activate different accessories, adjust noise reduction and wind noise reduction settings, as well as remote programming sessions with your hearing care professional if you cannot make it into their office in person. They even have a new Check My Fit feature inside of the app, which allows you to ensure that you're wearing your hearing aids correctly, because you can give up a lot of benefit if you are not properly physically wearing those devices inside of your ears. And one of my favorite things is that if you're an Apple Watch user, you can even use your watch to adjust the settings of your ReSound Omnia devices. Now, if you want more information about the ReSound Omnia product lineup and all the things that you can do with their app, go to resound.com. And of course, I've reviewed virtually all of their products on my channel at this point, but you can watch those reviews on my website, hearingup.com.
All right. Well, we are going to jump into connectivity as well as their app and features within their app. Now, as we said earlier, these are made for iPhone hearing aids. They are compatible with the ASHA protocol, and at the moment, they are compatible with over 50 devices, 50 Androids that are using that ASHA protocol.
That's right. So you can do it.
So you can
do it.
Just with caution.
Proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution. If streaming is important to you,
ask your hearing care professional about the stability of the connection with your particular device that you want to use.
Yeah, and reconfirm what your trial period looks like and be very honest about the performance during that trial period window. Now, they did come out with a new app when they released the new Genesis AI line. So anything that is in the Evolve AI line and back uses the Thrive Hearing Control app. And we have a graphic of this one. Oh, that's the new one. Let's do the other one, the Thrive Hearing Control. I kind of went out of order there. There we go. Okay, so there's the old one. So as you can see, there was a lot to do on that app. Sometimes, at times, I would consider far too much to do on that app for a lot of our users. However, I do have quite a few users that absolutely loved this because it gave you an activity score, a wellness score, and an engagement score. And so this was for physical activity, this was for hearing aid wear time, and then engagement, it was kind of seeing how social are you being, and that was using data pulled from the hearing aids, which is pretty cool.
How much money you want to bet that the engineers were like, guys, we can give them so much data. Everyone will love this data.
Everyone will love data.
All 400 engineers, it was 400 to 0. Like, let's make an app loaded with a ton of stuff. Everyone's going to love it. Some people loved it. Some people are like, I don't know what the heck to do inside of this app. And you know what they did? They simplified it.
They did simplify it.
With the Genesis AI, and I applaud the simplification.
Yes, so now we've got the new app. We've got a graphic of that My Starkey app there. So you can see in the back, there's still quite a few data points, but not nearly the same amount of data and numbers. It's so funny that you said that, because all of my patients, now that I'm thinking about it, all of my patients that have loved the Thrive app have all been my highly logistical, highly data-driven patients, and I'm just now making that connection.
Yep, and you know what? If we're lucky here, I might be able to pull up the home screen on this particular, the Genesis hearing aids on my phone, if I can get connectivity to agree with me right now. So there we go. We're going to have Jeff kind of zoom in on my phone there. This is the new home screen of the My Starkey app, and it is so much more simple. And if I'm going to be a little bit biased here, I love the color of this. You can see it matches the color of our studio. It's almost like they asked me, hey, what color, Dr. Cliff, would you like this app to be? And we'll make it that color. And here you go. And it is much more simple to use. I love that they have the Edge Mode Plus right there on the home screen, where you can just tap it to get that edge computing done on the hearing aids to help you out in a background noise situation. Very simple slider there for volume control. I gotta say, I would clap for them if I knew how that would come across on the audio here.
Yes. I think that they definitely did much better with that. Now, you were just talking about Edge Mode, and Edge Mode is a lot of the AI processing within the hearing aid, and traditionally in the Evolve line and back, this was activated when you were in a situation where you weren't hearing as well as you would like to be hearing, but you didn't know exactly what adjustments you needed to make to your program settings to make that better for you. And so it was enacted by this double tap on the device, and it would go into Edge Mode. Well, they have now, the old Edge Mode, the one I was just talking about, was only an on and off, and this basically activated that AI to help enhance sound quality. With their new Edge Mode Plus, this was really cool. The user actually selects the goal of them turning Edge Mode on, and there are 3 actual options for this. Number 1, best sound possible. Number 2, speech clarity, or number 3, reduce background noise. And so the user goes in and selects which one of those 3 that they would like, and then the deep neural network that is now in the hearing aid is activated to enhance the sound for the user's main concern. So previously it was just an on and off. Now it is a tell us what you want, and we will go in and make much more specific adjustments based on your reports.
You know, I'm hoping that Starkey actually has sound samples of this, because their original Edge mode had a terrific on-off sound sample where you're like at a live sporting event, you're listening to the announcer, and someone's like running a touchdown or interception back for a touchdown, and you hear the crowd noise, and you can, when you have the Edge mode turned off, it's very difficult to hear anything that the announcer is saying.
Right.
And then when you turn it on, it's like, holy cow, like that clears up the signal substantially. And so Edge mode was good back when they came out with it in the Evolve line. And so this particular Edge mode, I just really wish that people could get a sense of what that is through a sound sample. And if they have it, I promise I'll include it in the review video that I make for the Genesis AI.
Yeah. Great. Now, when it comes to the features, holy moly, like we were saying earlier, there's a ton of them, and we've actually got a graphic putting out quite a few of these different features within the app. We've got activity tracking. We've got those fall alerts like we were talking about earlier. We've got a mask mode that you can enact. Engagement tracking. This is just basically figuring out who you're talking to and in what social situations to try to get you more socially engaged. You can also set reminders that will alert you through your hearing aids to take different medications or to go pick up your dog from the groomer. They also have the ability to translate languages in real time, which I think is one of the coolest features, which basically if you're talking to someone who speaks a different language than you and they're speaking, it will pick up their voice in the hearing aid microphones, translate it in real time, and pop it into your ears.
That's right. And then hopefully you can speak your language effectively and then have it picked up on your phone so you can show them so they can read what you're saying in their native language.
Or they have Starkey hearing aids too that can translate real time.
Magic.
That'd be so cool.
If you could do that and you got good connectivity along with it, you'd be in business.
Seriously. Now, they went from 20 languages previously to 71 languages now, and I think that's a perfect example when we say that this technology stuff moves quick. To go from 20 languages to 71 languages that's compatible with, I mean, that's pretty incredible.
You know, I know of about 8 languages. So I'm guessing all 8 that I know of are probably within that, which is good.
Yeah.
And when I test out this feature, I speak a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish, just enough to get by. You know, if I need to order a baguette or something, or I need to instruct someone how to do a hearing test, I can speak that. Outside of that, I'm in trouble, so this would definitely come in handy.
Most definitely. Now, they also had the ability to do remote programming of the devices through TeleHear. So we have a graphic of this as well. This is done through the app on your phone. So as is what's pretty standard with most other hearing aid manufacturers, you are able to meet with your hearing healthcare provider and have adjustments made to your devices virtually without having to physically go to their office.
And we do a lot more of this stuff since COVID happened.
Yeah.
A lot more people kind of got used to the idea, wait a second, I could have a remote session with my provider instead of driving across town to go see them. And that's really kind of caught on to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
We use it a lot more with a lot of our snowbird patients who travel in from different states, or they're here for part of the year, they go back to their home state for a part of the year. We do a lot of remote care in our office.
We do, definitely. So you got to be ready for it. Now let's talk a little bit about their accessories. We've got a graphic here that has a little lineup of their accessories. At the top, you're going to see that is their TV streamer. Down below, that circle there, that's their table mic, and that was really nice. It combined several products into one. They've got their mini remote mic, which is the one just to the left of the table mic, and then that larger size is actually their remote mic plus, which has a few extra functions on top of that mini remote mic. And then over on the far right-hand side, that's just going to be their standard remote control.
You know, one thing that I say to everybody, and that you say to everybody at this point, is that if you're not getting the performance that you want in a background noise situation with as much Edge Mode Plus, and sound processing from a deep neural network as you can possibly achieve, using an assistive listening device like a remote microphone really goes a long way, and you never hear the TV better than if you stream it directly from the TV using an accessory into both of your ears.
Totally, yeah. It is the most cost-effective way to level up your hearing aid performance, hands down. And I hope that they really do start putting more and more research and development into these assistive listening devices, as more individuals become more comfortable with how to manage technology, I think that many more of these systems will be implemented. And with Auracast, I mean, who knows how far that's going to go.
You know, the limitation on a lot of accessories really is the hearing care provider that people are working with. I mean,
Totally.
if they don't get recommended an accessory, what are the chances that person is actually going to get an accessory? And it does require extra work on the provider's side, but the provider's job is to do what's in your best interest as an individual if you're trying to hear better. So if they're not giving you these options at the clinic that you go to that's dispensing Starkey hearing aids, you need to ask your provider, hey, I heard about this particular TV streamer. I would like that because I'm still struggling on the TV, and that will fix the problem. But again, sometimes you may have to request these accessories rather than having them just openly recommend them to you.
Right, most definitely. Okay, well, I feel like we just got through a ton of stuff.
We did, yeah. We cranked through it. I mean, we had a lot of stuff to talk about with them.
We did, but I'm proud of us. That being said, we have our final sponsor segment now. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Ear Care MD. So in past episodes, we've been talking about Earwax MD, Ear Itch MD, Ear Pain MD. But one of their cool products that they have, that Eosera has, is their earbud cleaning kit. So if you have AirPods or in the ear headphones, they've got their earbud cleaning kit, and you can clean your earbuds using the cleaning putty and cleaning wipes for a simple, no fuss process. So a lot of people wear their earbuds everywhere, down the street, listening to music, going to the gym. Earbuds get nasty as they're in your ears. So this comes with 30 squares of cleaning putty, 10 alcohol towelettes, 2 different brushes, and a magnifying glass. And all of these components can be kept in the reusable storage container that they come with. So if you look at your AirPods and you go, ooh, these have seen better days, you need to get yourself the Ear Care MD cleaning kit from Eosera. All of their products are available at CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and most national retailers. If you don't see what you need in store, you can go to eosera.com where they have their entire lineup. So thank you, Eosera.
Yeah, you could probably even use those with your hearing aids too.
Probably could,
like
yeah.
A lot of that
The
stuff is like,
cleaning
well, that's
putty
the
is
exact
pretty
same
good.
stuff
Yeah.
that we give out to our patients.
Yep, pretty close.
Very cool. Okay, so Kelsey, tell me, did we have a live feed today?
We unfortunately had a very spotty Facebook live feed, and we did not have a YouTube live feed. And again, I am so sorry. I was trying to continue to refresh it as I was also watching. So I really appreciate everybody's patience. I mean, we all appreciate your guys' patience as we work to figure out our internet connectivity issues on our end. So thank you for bearing with us. That being said, I was able to go ahead and still find some questions for us to answer today. So the very first question is, please help me choose if I have to choose between the Livio AI 2400 RIC and the Evolve AI 1200 RIC, which would be better? The 2400 is the Livio, but the 1200 is the Evolve AI. Which one should I choose and why?
Oh, gosh.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, it's kind of like, why would we have to choose between those two would be my question for that. Like, is it a price thing?
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I would think that that's the only real reason I could see that being the context for this, but unfortunately we're not given any more context than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to get asked a question like that and to know, because it really just depends on what the wants and needs are of the specific individual. And, you know, part of me leans towards you go at the highest technology level, right? Because there's many features and customizations inside of there, so your professional can optimize the performance of those devices. But then on the other end, you have a newer product line that has been updated, and so potentially even a lower tech level of that newer updated product would be as good. But honestly, I think it's probably a wash in this case.
Yeah, I think, oh man, like I said, they move through technology lines so quickly. In my head, I'm like, Livio Edge AI, like that's brand new. But it's not brand new, but yeah, I'm a little bit biased more towards the highest technology level. It's not too far behind in tech, but I'd also call that a wash.
There's a different amount of adjustment bands inside of there, so if you're trying to match your prescriptive targets,
Yeah,
you would
that's a big
go with
one.
the older generation one to match the prescriptive targets
Yeah.
better. That would be something objectively that you could look at for that. Everything else is going to be really a subjective thing
Yep.
when you really go into it.
Man, what a great question. That is a really good question.
Yeah. We do have some other really good questions as well. This next one is, I may be getting a dome in place of the old custom ear mold. Quick question, does the dome come off of the receiver and get stuck inside my ear easily, or does it tend to stay in place?
It depends on your ear. I will say that. It depends on the dome size and it depends on your ear. So I think that all of the hearing aid receivers are designed equally as far as dome retention goes. For some reason, I'm thinking of all the domes that I've pulled out of people's ears in the past, and a lot of them have happened to be Starkey, and I don't know why, but I don't think that that has anything to do with the actual device.
Maybe it's that like they're taking and cleaning their the comfort tips, and they don't get them pushed back on completely all the way, or they accidentally rip them when they take them off, and then they can't stay on the tip of the receiver, so it pulls off inside of your ear. I don't tend to see a whole lot of domes get stuck in people's ears, but it can happen, and it might happen.
It's rare. It doesn't happen very often.
And I think more than that, the times where I see it the most is if someone has a dome that is not made for the specific hearing aid. So like, let's say you threw, I don't know, an Oticon dome on a Starkey hearing aid. It might fall off more easily than if you used the one that was proprietary for the manufacturer that you're going with.
Very true.
I do have another question just on the same note, as I do wonder why they are switching from the ear mold to the dome.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, and again, we're not given much more context, but I do wonder that as well. All right, our next question is a little bit more general about hearing aids, but I think that this is an important topic that we talk about. So I own prescription hearing aids prescribed by an audiologist, and I own Bose earbuds. Why can't the hearing aid manufacturers make the sound quality of Bose in a hearing aid? The quality of the sound output in my hearing aids is horrible, and yes, I have the app that allows me to adjust them. I would love to see Bose sell an OTC hearing aid with the sound quality of their earbuds.
And a lot of this has to do with the coupling. So the rubber tip that goes inside of your ear canal. If you don't completely seal off your ear canal like you get with a pair of, Bose earbuds, then you're leaking out your low frequencies. I don't care how much you turn them up inside of an app, you're going to lose those low frequencies. When Bose eventually, because I believe they will, when they make their over-the-counter hearing aids, and I should rephrase this, when Lexi makes their updates to the Bose device technology that they got from them, they will likely have streaming available, and you will run into the same issue with the Bose over-the-counter hearing aids as you do with any prescription hearing aid that's on the market, unless you have a custom ear mold or a completely occluding dome inside of your ear.
My commentary on this is that headphones have it easy. They are taking a clean, crisp, clear signal and translating it one-to-one from your phone to the headphones. There's not much to get wrong.
Without having to worry about any communication with outside people.
There's zero dynamic processing that's going on there. None. Zero. I was in a restaurant the other day, and I am constantly thinking about the environments that my patients are in and group situations and the hard things that hearing aids have to do when it comes to processing voices of different pitches, of different levels, and at different distances. And we were seated very, very close to another couple right next to us. And obviously I could hear them talking off to my right as I'm having dinner. And I'm thinking, okay, at the moment, if I were wearing hearing aids, I would want my hearing aid to know that I want nothing to do with this person seated right next to me. But then if I went to dinner with Kelsey and she's seated on my right, my hearing aid is supposed to pick up everything that Kelsey is saying because she's seated in close proximity to me. The hearing aids don't know who you're with and what you're doing. And I think that they have so much processing to do behind the scenes that it's not even a fair comparison to compare headphone sound quality to hearing aid sound quality.
And I think that the other piece to this too is that hearing aids are designed to pick up speech, just like you were talking about. And, when we're listening through headphones, more often than not, we're listening to music. Yeah. And the things that you need as far as, the range, the sound quality and all of that to pick up someone's speech in a noisy restaurant is very different than what you would need to hear music. And so you're also dealing with that. And again, too, if your hearing aids are not programmed properly as well, you're not fully adapted to them because you're not wearing them as often. I mean, there are a lot of factors that go into that. But again, the main priority of the hearing aid is to get you speech.
Yep.
not music.
Speech focus more than
That's
anything.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. But it can be done. Like, I mean,
can
be done.
if I do a custom ear mold that is fully occluding, meaning there's no leakage of sound out of my
Absolutely.
ear, I can go in and I can adjust the audio of a hearing aid and I can make that sucker sound really good.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right? But it also has to do with the type of Bluetooth you're using. Bluetooth Classic, in my opinion, is a much higher sound quality of streaming, which is what all consumer electronics use, pretty much. Compared to like Bluetooth Low Energy or the, heaven forbid, the ASHA Bluetooth protocol, which is like
gosh.
the worst invention known to man at this, in my world.
Yes,
the worst invention ever. So, it really just has to do with what a device is intended to do, and you cannot serve both masters at the same time.
Nope, definitely can't. So all I can hope is that they continue to kind of capitalize on this AI, deep neural network processing, and I think they're trying to get into the space of eye tracking and things too, which is really, really interesting.
That'd be cool.
So,
But we can't change the laws of physics and acoustics. Like you
cannot.
can't.
I
Like you have
know.
to work within that world. And if you don't trap the appropriate amount of sound inside of your ears for whatever you're trying to listen to, nothing else. You can process it all you want to. It does not matter, right? So that being said, I think that's pretty much all the time we have for today. Appreciate you guys hanging on with us here. If it was on a live stream to some degree, but of course you can watch this recorded episode on the YouTube channel as well as any of our other episodes that we've also recorded and placed on Dr. Cliff AUD YouTube channel. But if you guys want to try to catch us live again next week, crossing my fingers that it works next week, you can find us on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and WTSMTV.com. And as always, one way or another, we'll see you next week.